Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Super Bowl episode for the Devil S NFL podcast. I'm Sam.
I'm Spencer, and without further ado, it is time for the big game.
Full Sunday.
Who was expecting, if I were to ask you in August, who would be in the Super Bowl from the AFC, and I were to name the most likely 13 teams, the Bengals would not be one of them, probably. And here they are in Super Bowl 56.
I would have picked the Jets over the Bengals at the time.
I had the Bengals going 5-12 and earning the 7th pick in the draft, and look where they are. Unbelievable. The Rams, on the other hand, was a bit more expected. I had the Packers in the Super Bowl from the NFC, but I had the Rams going far in the playoffs. So I'm not really shocked by this outcome, but
I had the Ravens and the Bucks.
I knew I had Baltimore going 8-9 with all the injuries before season. I got that right.
I mean, who could have expected all the injuries from them, really?
No, I made my final predictions on the day the season started, like 2 hours before Cowboys Bucks that night.
Oh, mine was probably like the last, like week 2 of the preseason.
Yeah, I did I updated them. I did like five editions of them. All right. So I'm gonna go first with my prediction, and a couple keys to the game for the Bengals. Make sure the O-line is serviceable against that Rams pass rush and interior. Aaron Donald, Floyd, and Miller, that three-headed monster, even Sebastian Joseph Day might be too much for the Bengals O-line. So try to get the pass game going. Don't go too.
Get the ball out quick.
Get the ball out quick. Exactly. And on the defensive side of the ball, just contain Cooper Kupp. Pray Eli Apple is not bad, even though he's been bitching on Twitter and like every day it seems. I like the other corners they have, and Jesse Bates, even after a rough year, he stepped it up the last few weeks in the playoffs a lot,
especially in the divisional round in the conference championship game.
Especially, yeah, in that Titans game, I was gonna say he had some clutch stuff. For the Rams, Stafford just play a clean game as he's been doing all playoffs.
Control the clock.
Yeah, I trust McVay a lot in this regard, but control the time of possession. Get the run game going, honestly.
Yes, make sure Michelle and Cam Akers get at least 30 touches between the two of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say 10 to 15 each. Like, don't put too much of a workload on Matt Stafford. And the defense, Raheem Morris must have a good game plan for Jamar and Joe. So without further ado, the Bengals in the Super Bowl will score 31, and the LA Rams will score 27, and the Super Bowl champions will be the Cincinnati Bengals. Super Bowl MVP will be none other than Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty, Joe Burr, whatever you want to call him, and the Super Bowl will go to the Bengals.
The Cincinnati Bengals will score 33, and the Los Angeles Rams will have 30.
Are you thinking a game-winning field goal by Money McPherson?
I am, and guess who I'm picking as my Super Bowl MVP?
Please don't say Eli Apple.
Evan McPherson.
Actually,
I'm gonna do it.
Evan McPherson. I'd bet on that, honestly.
Who said I had to take this seriously? I've been on the Bengals this whole playoff run.
I thought the Raiders would beat them. I thought the Titans would beat them, and I thought the Chiefs would beat them. So I've been low on them, but now I'm finally getting picked them to win it all. And Cincinnati canceled school next Monday, so I think it's going to pay off.
As they should have.
Yeah,
that was a great move by them.
I think the whole U.S. should, honestly.
And I want to get into some of the awards.
Yeah, let's talk about some awards.
We don't want to make this too short.
Yeah. There's one I want to talk about in particular, and that's Comeback Player of the Year. I agreed with the other ones, but Comeback Player of the Year, I would have given it to Nick Bosa. Double-digit sacks.
Very under the radar year because of the years that TJ Watt had and
Myles Garrett. Yeah. Like the fact that he wasn't even second blows my mind. It's like that defense in 2020 without him struggled mightily. And like, although I like Miko Ryan as a coordinator, but both of them still, he was insane. Top 3 edge rusher for sure. And he's going to be back with the bang next year. Actually, he's my defensive player of the year pick right now. I could see him getting 18, 20 sacks next year. And he's going to be fourth on that defense for years to come.
I'd like to bring up the coach of the year. I thought it was a great decision by Mike Vrabel to give it to Mike Vrabel. Excuse me.
Yeah,
But I've been hearing a lot of people, more specifically Eagles fans, say that Nick Sirianni should have been coach of the year, or at least been considered.
I kind of agree with being considered, but winning it at 9-8 and getting smoked in the first round of the playoffs does not warrant you coach of the year spot, in my opinion.
And Aaron Rodgers won MVP. That wasn't really a surprise.
Rodgers MVP, Cup, Watt, Parsons, Chase. Those are all like I pretty much predicted the outcomes of all of those, and so did many people. Well deserving of all of them. One more thing I want to talk about, and that is the 2022 NFL draft quarterback class. Briefly, we'll get more in depth into this soon, but I'm gonna go first with my thoughts on a couple of them. I'm gonna start with the very polarizing prospect, and that is Malik Willis. What are your thoughts on Malik Willis?
I think he can be a very good quarterback under the right system.
Completely agree with that. He's a very boomer bust type guy. So say he ends up on a team like Tennessee. I don't think this happens, but he sits behind Tannehill for a year or two. I think he'll thrive.
I
But
personally think that he'll go to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh signs like a bridge quarterback, like a Mitch Trubisky,
Mariota, something like that.
for a year, and Malik will start in 2023.
And I think so say Malik goes through a situation like the Panthers, I think he's screwed.
Oh yeah, he is no help.
Just like having that
Or
decision.
no coaching help, I should say. They have a
No
lot of
coaching.
talent.
In my opinion, the Panthers, they have the worst coach in the NFL and the worst O-line. And in my opinion, they're going to be the worst team in the NFL next year. And I do not think it will be really close at all.
I have this random gut feeling that Atlanta wins the NFC South next year.
I think the Bucks end up winning it at like 6-11.
6-11. You
Yep.
were really going that low?
7-10 maybe, but that's the best I could go. Because when you think about I could see them like being like a Seattle 2010 type of team, Washington 2020, Carolina 2014, if you remember that team. Yeah, but I could also see a team like I love the Dennis Allen hire, so I could see the Saints doing well, but I don't, they do not have
If
a
the
lot
Saints can work their way out of cap hell, then maybe.
But do you think the Panthers will be a bottom 3 team next year?
At least bottom 5.
Yeah. Who do you think will be the worst in the NFL as of right now next season?
Jacksonville.
Again? Imagine getting 3.
I don't trust Trent Baalke to do anything good. He'll probably draft like a wide receiver or some shit.
Did you like that Pearson hire?
It's okay.
You know who
they could have done a lot worse.
I think Carolina's going to be really bad, and the Saints are going to shock a lot of people, but I think the Dolphins are going to be absolutely atrocious.
I can see it.
Yeah. I think the Dolphins finished last in the East and are like 5-12.
I think Miami will be like 7-10, but I can see them going like 4-13.
Where do you think they'll finish in the East?
Who I think has a really bad year?
Who?
If Seattle manages to trade Russell Wilson to a team like Denver or the Giants,
yeah, they're going to be.
Yeah, I do not like their defense. I like that they fired Ken Norton finally.
I think it's time to part ways with Pete Carroll. Like he's respected there and everything, but it's time to like he's just outdated totally. Do you think Miami finishes last in the East next year, or still the Jets?
I think it's still the Jets this year. I think they finished 6-11.
But do you think they make the playoffs the next year if they make the right moves?
Maybe.
Do you think they're a more competitive 6-11 team next year?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I like the coaching job that
LaFleur, solid.
that Salah's done this year. Even that though they were 4-13.
What do you think will hold them back? The defense.
You need Becton back at full form. But I think it could be either the offensive line if it was as bad as last year's. I think the running game gets better.
Carter was great down the stretch.
Absolutely.
That's running back is probably the position I'm least concerned about. How do you think
Do
Wilson
not
does?
have a good wide receiver core, and they should address it at the draft or
How do
free
you think
agency.
Wilson will do better?
Who's their top receiver going into next year? Davis?
David, I think Moore's going to break out as number one next year. But I think we do draft Garrett Wilson.
Oh right, you drafted that high?
Who, Moore in the second round we did.
No, Wilson.
I think we're going to in the first 10th pick. He's worth the top 10 pick.
I trade back and get someone like Jahan Dotson, but I think 10's a little high for a receiver.
Do you remember how high Watkins, Mike Williams, John Ross,
And how many of those?
Jamar Chase, OBJ,
OBJ went 11, didn't he?
12, but that's still top 15. All right, I have a really, really, really hot take. That's a certain fan base hates this other fan base, and for a good reason. But I think the Eagles win the East next year
I can see it.
with Russell Wilson.
Ooh,
They
I
go-
wouldn't like that as a division rival, but I don't see him going to Philly. But if he were to go to Philly, then I think Philly could win the East with Jalen Hurts.
I think they'd be like a 10-7 team if they ran back this roster.
I mean, yeah, but 10-7 might be enough to take the NFC East.
I think Dallas takes a step back.
I agree. That's why I have Philly taking the division.
How do you think Washington does, the Commander?
8-9.
They're
I think they
very
go quarterback. I think they get Pickett.
second. How do you think he does his rookie year?
I think they actually sit him behind Heineke for a year.
Oh, really?
He's still under the contract, isn't he?
Yeah, he signed 2 years, like 8 million, something like that. In order of how good you think they'll be next year, how do you think the 2021 draft class quarterbacks are going to be?
I think it goes. Want best to worst?
Yeah, best or worst.
Jones, Wilson, Fields, Lance, Lawrence.
All right, yeah, I'll do mine. I'll do tier gaps too. I'm gonna go worst to best. I like him a lot, and I think that I hope I'm wrong about this, but I think Fields is gonna struggle again next year because I didn't like the Eberflus hire really, and like the offensive line just not inspire me. On that same tier, a little bit better though. I have Mac Jones. I think he's gonna stay the same. Just like a top 20 quarterback, not great, but not bad. I have Trevor Lawrence in the next year. I think he's like top 16 next year. I think
How good do you think Jacksonville does next year?
I think they'll go like depends what if the Colts keep Wentz, but I think Jacksonville finishes like 7-10 or 8-9. Same with the Jets. I'm high on both those teams. Yeah, as a Jets fan, obviously, but like I think that the Colts or Titans take a big step back next year. One of them. Second, Zach Wilson. I think he emerges top 15. And then number one in my MVP pick is Trey Lance. We'll get more into that another time, but that's my MVP pick next year. All right. I hope you all give this a listen. And signing off is Spencer.
And Sam, we'll see you next week.
Next week. Enjoy the game.